So I'm out walking. Oh, I'm going back inside though. I just got, I don't know, a mosquito bite or something, like right here. And oh my gosh, it is really irritating because, it's a real small, thin part of the ear, and you can only scratch it so much before you start making it worse. Oh my gosh. Well, I was thinking. Now, I've never been in unbearable pain. Oh, golly, and I hope that I never will be. I don't do well with pain, with physical pain. I had a friend who once shared something with me that it was just kind of interesting, the different points of view from which we see or experience life. I was going through a very, very difficult time in my marriage and was headed for divorce. And my friend shared with me, and she said, I don't know how you are dealing with this. This would be unbearable for me. I don't know what I would do. Well, this friend of mine was somebody who had a lot of problems with illness. She had some chronic conditions where she was sick a lot and even had to go in the hospital a lot, be on medications. And I said, I don't know how you deal with your situation. I mean, oh my gosh, there is no way that I could just, keep going with being sick as much as you are. And it was so interesting because I find it very hard to deal with physical unwellness. And she finds it very hard to deal with psychic or mental, psychological unwellness, I'll call it. So I think, just like this mosquito bite is driving me nuts. But it's nothing compared to the pain some people are experiencing now, especially psychological pain. That's something that I'm a little more able to deal with, obviously, as I've said. Golly, do you sometimes feel like if you say something like, oh, well, I'm a very patient person, that all of a sudden God or karma or whatever is going to send a situation where you have to be like super duper patient and it's unpleasant? Okay, I feel a little bit, should I say I deal well with psychological difficulties? But the fact is that, yeah, I generally do. And here's how I do it, okay? I understand that I cannot just say, all right, I'm going to change the way I think. Because usually however you think is something that has built up over time. You've practiced various ways of thinking, habits of reacting to things, thought patterns, and you can't just change it like that, okay? But here's what you can do, and this may be useful, particularly during this time of a lot of mental stress for a lot of people with having to stay home, perhaps being with people you're not accustomed to being with, and you're having to form functional relationships that you didn't have to before. Oh golly, I once had a friend whose husband would be away for 2 months at a time in a foreign country where he worked, and then he'd be home for like 3 weeks or so. And do you know what she said? She said, our marriage is the better for it. She said, if we had to be at home all the time together, I think, we'd tear each other apart. But he's gone and, I'm here. And then when he comes home, we really enjoy those several weeks together. And then he goes back. It's kind of funny, isn't it? But also, some people now are having to be, even with family members or roommates or even workmates, that they are not accustomed to being with. all the time. So they're having to form functional relationships. I'm not saying good relationships, just functional. Okay? And of course, that's all mental work. So this is what you do, or this is what I do when I find that a mental habit or way of thinking is not really working out the best for me. So I try to figure out, okay, what's going on here, all right? And I pick one thing that I'd like to work on. Now, this is usually the first thing that I pick. Very often when there's a thought pattern or a relationship issue, you have an emotional reaction. Like, oh, geez, not again. Or, oh my gosh. And right there is where you need to stop yourself. Okay? Now, let's say you're with another person and you're experiencing that, oh, here we go again. You know what I mean? Say, could you excuse me just a second? I'm sorry, I'll be right back. Run to the bathroom or another room or, something like that. Step outside and say to yourself, okay, get a hold of yourself. Take a breath, okay? That old saying of, if you get angry, count to 10. Actually, that has a lot of wisdom in it, because what happens is it distracts you from what you've been thinking about, okay? All right, the biology of the whole thing, the physiology, is that when you're having emotions, it's happening in the back part of your brain. Kind of like a backseat driver, okay? If you stop, change your environment, take a few deep breaths, change your physical position, it will get you in contact with your prefrontal cortex, which is the executive function of your brain. That's, the department that controls everything with reason and logic and common sense and thinking, okay, instead of just emotional reacting. So you want to say to yourself, okay, let's stop. Take a deep breath. Now let me go back into this situation. Or actually, before you go back into it, you might want to try to figure out, okay, how am I going to handle this? Depending on what the situation is. I don't know what your specific situation is. But just the fact that you've gotten away, you've separated yourself from all of the emotions, is going to allow you to think a lot more clearly, okay? I had posted something on a Facebook page today, on someone's Facebook page, that I found, it was a situation they were struggling with. And I said, there is a humorous component to this. And they posted back and said, this is really sad and pathetic, and I don't see any humor in it. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? Now, my tendency was to get this awful feeling in the pit of my stomach and just feel terrible. But you know what? I stopped that. I didn't let it happen. I said to myself, okay, sometimes you're going to misread something and make a mistake and blunder, verbally or in writing in this case. That happens. So, I went and I posted, I understand, and I put a little gif of, somebody offering a flower. And I know, this person is a friend. I know they'll understand that, I didn't mean to hurt or offend or make fun of a situation that they find serious. Actually, it's, it's kind of like the toilet paper situation, but it's, difficulty finding other products. Anyway, these things happen. But what's important is I'm working on making progress with my personal reactions to things. There in a past time in my life, I could have spent several hours just thinking, oh my gosh, why did I even write that? That was so stupid. I remember seeing on some comedy things on movies, and the person will go, stupid, stupid. Like, they're accusing themselves of being stupid. No, no, no. We don't need to go that far. It's okay to say, oh, I just did a stupid thing. What can I do to fix this? All right? But don't be negative self-talking yourself. All right, gee whiz. Don't we get enough negative talk from other people? I mean, honestly, you don't need to do it to yourself. So, back to what I was saying. If you have something that's bothering you, now whether it's that mosquito bite, which by the way, it stopped itching. My ear's hot, but it's not itching anymore because I distracted myself all this time probably, and it got over being itchy. But if you're having something that's bothering you, you have a choice to go with your emotions and let it become this big deal. Okay, like, oh, poor me, I've got this itchy, oh, what kind of a day is this? What a way to start the day. I go out to take a nice walk, to get exercise, and I get this mosquito bite in a place that's, you can blow anything up, right? Some things are a big deal, though. And here's what you want to do. You want to say to yourself, and this will really help, have a goal, okay? My goal is I'm going to work on dealing with situations like this. And the way I'm going to start is I'm going to calm down. And you know what? You may need to just practice the part of calming down and getting out of your emotions and into the executive department of your brain. What are they? Oh, the executive branch. Yes. And make some good, level-headed decisions about how you're going to deal with something. So what I'm saying is your first goal is to try to practice enough times so that when that situation that sets you off happens, you no longer immediately jump into your emotions, okay? Just twirling my little rainbow makers a little bit here because they make me so happy. Anyway, that's your goal. Very small goal, but it gives you something to work on. And here is the point. If you are working towards something, you're going to just, in general, feel a lot better. If you don't actually have a sense of accomplishment, at least you have a sense that I am actually working on this. I'm not just, doing nothing about myself. Because let me tell you, right now, when so many of us have had a complete change in our lifestyles, our relationships, just everything kind of physically and mentally, the big challenge is me. It's not even so much what's going on out there. It's what's going on in here and in here too, in our hearts. So this is the perfect time to start to realize little things about yourself and start working on them, okay? And that'll help you. It really, really will. I promise. Make the right choices, okay? Make good choices. Use what God gave you. Yeah, He gave you emotions, but sometimes you may need to think of them as a backseat driver and let the real driver that's at the steering wheel up in the front part of your brain make level-headed decisions.